Hello, hello, and welcome to another review of Love is Blind. Today, we are going to be reviewing season 6, episode 5 and 6. And I also want to introduce my homeboy, who is low key my girlfriend, according to his wife. Hey, summer girl. Anyways, this is Terrance Cort. I call him Court because I don't know why. I just call him by his last name. I just like it. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, let's get after it.
I wanna get to your clothes, gotta get it right now. I wanna push all the limits with you right now. So watch your feelings, the city's screaming when I come in.
First things first. The episode, I don't know if you remember, but so season 4 ended with Jimmy and the other guy being in the separate rooms waiting to see which room Chelsea was going to go into and to
Right.
see which proposal she would accept. Jimmy proposed to Chelsea. I don't mean to laugh, but and he said in his proposal, I really don't care what she looked like. But that's false because she had already communicated to him at that point. I look like Megan Fox. Like people tell me I look like Megan Fox or whatever else. So she had already dropped all these kind of hints. So do you how do you feel about that whole proposal? Do you even feel like it was real?
I think he thought it was real, right? I mean, he really believed, okay, I really like her as a person or whatever. And I think he was a bit thrown because he had broken up with, what's her name?
Jessica.
With Jessica before. And Jessica was, she was like, well, when you see me, you'll, what you'll
Right.
be missing out on. So I think he took that as like, oh, well, she thinks she's hot. And also she probably thinks that Chelsea's not that hot. But he's like, all right, well, I'm committed. So he went ahead and did what he did. But even mentioning the way he always mentions
Mm-hmm.
the physical isn't important, kind of, it's like he's overcompensating.
As soon as I saw this in my head, I was like, I knew that Chelsea preferred Jimmy and Trevor, that's the other guy's name.
All
So
right.
she had to break up with Trevor, and her response was, I can't give you all of me right now. I was like, that was the worst language.
Yeah.
But I appreciated Trevor because he came back and he asked some great questions. He was like, are you sure that decision would make you the happiest? Like, do you have a reason why? And
Right.
she couldn't provide any rationale.
He even asked, like, if I had proposed first, would you have chosen me? And she didn't really answer that.
She did.
Um,
And then he was
yeah,
like, I don't think Jimmy would have liked that response.
right.
And listen, bravo to his response because he was just sitting there with the best attitude. He's like, I want to cry, but I'm still kind of trying to process. He was shocked. He was completely shocked just sitting there because he thought he had it in the bag. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say it was interesting to me to watch the dynamics, as the dating phase came to an end of the people who were, trying to choose between two people.
mhm.
Um, I don't know if it's them all just kind of being crap people or if the the show, the format kind of encourages certain behavior, but it was either or, right? They weren't treating
Mhm.
each people as individuals. So if someone did something bad or someone said something kind of iffy, you're like, well, this person hasn't done anything iffy, so I'm going to bounce over there, which is probably not the most healthy way to do that.
It seems very immature, because we can't seem to handle this problem right here. Let me just go ahead and jump to something else that seems easy because I don't
Right.
want to have to deal with it.
Which, as we will see when we move on to the next phase, communication and problem solving is key to a healthy relationship, right? And that's what they didn't do when they were dating.
Right. And I think the way it is set up, you're supposed to focus solely on the communication piece.
Right.
It's like a missed opportunity because you're not distracted by looks, you're not distracted by the activities and other things that you guys could be doing, even though they incorporate activities in some of the dates. The primary thing that you focus on is the communication and getting to know one another. And I feel like a lot of that was missed in some of
Yeah.
the conversations. Like, so what do you think about like Sarah and Jeremy, as I like to call him, and Laura, like that triangle?
I think it was fine. I don't think anything really stuck out to me about those interactions there. I guess in relation to everything else, I feel like Jeremy, I hate that name. I feel like he handled it, you know, relatively maturely. And I think throughout everything, he was being pretty transparent.
I felt the same way too. I felt like he was trying to be as honest as he could, but I
Right.
also feel like he felt rushed
Yeah.
to make a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm wondering if there was some sort of deadline or something.
I'm sure there is because you only have 2 weeks in
Yeah.
so it's not like you can be in there for forever and you have to have made a decision by like, I guess maybe day 13 or
Right. Or
so.
else
You know what I'm
it's not
saying?
going on. Yeah. Gotcha. So yeah, he probably felt like he had to make a choice. Yeah. I
Right.
think that was as best as he could have done there.
And I think to me, I feel like along with those other people that actually don't couple up, if you don't see it and if it's not 100% there, then don't go for it. Because
Yeah.
essentially what you're doing is you're communicating that you love the person, then you're
Yeah.
asking them, you're requesting their hand in marriage, which is a big deal. And granted, you still have the opportunity to date and get to know the person like outside of that before the actual wedding day. But why put yourself and your family through all of that if you know ahead of time that this is just not something that can really stand the course? And because honestly, people have met in the pods and they continue to date after the pods. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have
Right.
to necessarily feel rushed. You don't have to go through to that next step unless you legitimately feel like you're in love, whatever love means in a 2 week.
Right. In that circumstance, yeah,
Right.
it's a whole nother issue.
A whole other issue. But so jumping forward, so Jimmy meets Megan Fox.
Yes, he meets Megan
Um,
Fox.
what was your response? Like, did you see the part where they were interviewing him while he was talking about preparing for the meetup to meet Chelsea? And he was like, I've never been more sure of Jess. Then he kind of caught himself and he was like, Jessica. He was like, no, Chelsea. I was like, a
Yeah,
Freudian slip.
a Freudian slip in an interview that's going to be recorded forever. Not a great start. Not a great start. And then quickly followed up by his obvious dismay at seeing her. He tried to play it off, but he was obviously very confused. And I mean, I guess at that point you can't blame him, right? What are you gonna do? You said you love
Right.
this person. You have to at least give it a try, right?
I mean,
So
he both said, I've never said this to anybody. You know what I'm saying to you because I know that it's there. It's real. I was just like, Jimmy, stop lying. You just transferred your feelings. You unplugged it from overhead and you plugged it
yeah,
up here, and it's not the same. And you're gonna regret it. I was like, Mark Jessica's words.
yeah, yeah. And I think I'm not sure if it was Jessica or I think it was Jessica who said he's like he takes the easy road or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that in his interactions with Chelsea, you see that like he sees her and he doesn't ever confront her about it, even though he makes kind of a comment to the camera like, "Oh well, she said she looked like Megan Fox." Like he doesn't bring that up or anything. Um,
But it was in the back of his head. I don't care.
yeah, yeah,
Right, like, come on now. The moment the doors open, his face was given WTF.
yep, yeah,
And I was like, well, maybe it was just nerves, but no, because then when they sat down on the bench and they were talking, he was like, I almost left.
yeah.
You thought about leaving? If you thought
He
about leaving, that
uses,
means that in your mind, you low key was Jessica or bust.
yeah, and
And
he
it was
uses
Jessica
her
anyway.
to dump his emotions
Mm-hmm,
without any consideration for how it will affect her.
mm-hmm.
Like that was just not the time and place to be talking about the fact that you just broke up with somebody else. Like you chose her. Can she dwell in that for a minute before you bring up the other girl?
And yeah. And I think that's what he kept saying. You're gorgeous. You're
Yeah,
gorgeous. I was like, shut up. You still like
yeah.
trying to convince your own daggone self.
I feel like you can tell she's trying to not notice it because I think she has, and she hasn't expressed it, but I think she
Mhm.
has said some things that imply she has some body issues. Um, and so she was kind of hyped to be one of the girls who has like the two guys chasing after her or whatever. And she's like, I didn't know how it would turn out. She's not
Was
used to it.
thriving on that. Yeah. Oh no, I have a decision to make. Who would have thought? I never thought I would meet anybody, much as now I have to make a choice between two nice guys. And to me, low key, I feel like Jimmy is fine. Like I actually like Jimmy. I just feel like he set himself up, but I think that he played himself by allowing that Megan Fox comment to get into his mind and
Yeah,
shift him. I think had he not heard Chelsea say that she looked like Megan Fox, he probably would have never been questioning his feelings for Jessica.
yeah,
And when she conveyed how she felt, he would have been able to respond, I'm feeling you too. As
yeah,
opposed to, I don't really know how I'm feeling. There's still somebody else. Because I feel like the way that he said that at the tail end, it was given, I'm trying to figure out what's going on back here. And he honestly, just Chelsea was never in the front, never in the front line. Jessica was.
yeah. And I mean, Jessica didn't let up on the "you're going to be a father" to a to a preteen thing, and I think that kind of freaked him out. And I think he tried to not let it freak him out, but it did. Um, so
But also Chelsea being married before, I think that freaked him out.
it definitely freaked him out. Again, Chelsea looks good to him in context.
Mhm.
So in relation to Jessica, because Jessica has, a kid and she's a little bit much. You can't just, it's not going to be chill. But yeah, Chelsea looks so much easier. And I think he just was like, yeah, I'll go with the easier thing. It's a sure thing.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to Jimmy and Chelsea in a bit. Let's talk a little bit about um Jeremy and Laura. Like when they met each other, I felt like they couldn't like keep their hands off of each other. Like they were so like enamored. Like they both were like, "Oh, he's cute." Da, 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 da. But in my head, I got a quick sense that Laura would be annoyed over time, like with his boyish ways,
Yeah.
right? I kind of felt that a little bit, but he just kind of came off like he was set on who she was, and he's never really had another person that he's been close to, and so she's it for him.
Yeah. He was very, very much like, this is the person I like. This is the person I want to be with. Um, yeah, I think the separate pods kind of insulates her a bit from some of his personality. That's just life.
Right. We saw a little bit about of that when they transitioned. Because for some reason, I feel like episode 5 like abruptly went into the honeymoon phase, right?
Yeah,
Like
like halfway through the episode.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh, that's kind of strange. But so they end up at the honeymoon destination, and she kept referencing his style of dress, like, oh, you got those Hawaiian
yeah,
shirts on, like, not really feeling that. And then throughout the rest of that episode and episode 6, she kept talking about the shirt and like his style of dress and how he acts. And she just kind of like, ugh, like she just so annoyed with it, but she still likes him. And I think for her, she's probably still trying to connect the man that she fell in love with in the pods, to the man who was like presented before her.
right. Yeah, yeah, and I think it even threw him for a loop a bit because I mean, she told him, change the way you dress. Just she basically said you dress like an adult or whatever. She was making jokes
Right.
about his neck because he had said he had a big neck. Didn't feel comfortable in shirts, but then like she had told him no motorcycles. Um, And
Yes.
at one point they're like laying in the bed talking about it, and he's like, I'm giving up the motorcycles, like I'm giving up these things. I'm keeping my damn Hawaiian shirts. Like in the grand scheme of things, like you're asking for petty, like you're focused on petty things when I'm giving up things that are really important to me. I
Right.
think she really picked up on that.
She did. She did. And this is why I talk about like the listening skills, because she was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm asking you to give up some things. What are some things that you want me to give up? And he was like, nothing. Like, I love everything about you. I was like, that's so sweet. So, how do you feel about Johnny and Amy? Because I feel like they were kind of like very handsy and stuff like that. But as Amy shared, Johnny is not her typical type.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's kind of like a smitten kitten. Like he's like, oh, this international girl. Really, she's just from Puerto Rico or whatever. But she might be the most ethnic person that he's ever dated. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So, like, what are your thoughts about their connection?
Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a fetish going on there. He's,
Telling he's at Playboy Mansion.
I
Mm,
mean, there's still potential, right? As with everything new, you'll eventually burn through um, kind of that initial halo feeling, and I'll be curious to see if there's actually anything there.
mhm.
Uh, but I definitely do think that I mean, like you said, she's the exotic girl to him,
Right.
and he really likes that being kind of homegrown like he is.
And she was
And
clever. Like, if I had seen him, like I would have never
yeah,
have even looked in that direction. She said she prefers people with darker skin and darker hair. I was like, you like black man, girl?
you like black men. That's all right though. It's I mean, it's admirable that nobody noped out of the reveal. Like they didn't walk in and be like, nope, this ain't going. Nope. It's admirable that people are at least gonna try.
Yeah, that they're going all the way through. Like, I
Yeah,
don't care what you look like. I'm gonna. That's tough. I mean, I always wondered if I could do something like this, and I'm like, I think I could, but I don't think I would accept a proposal if I really wasn't feeling the person. Like, I would have to legitimately be so enamored with you and in love with everything about you for me to go to the process. And I don't know, because if somebody come out there looking like a monkey, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it. But I've never been in a situation, clearly, I never will be, hopefully.
yeah,
So I can't speak to, what I actually would do or wouldn't do.
yeah.
Do you think you could do something like this?
Probably not. I mean, I think you go into it knowing that you're going to behave in an unreasonable way. So you go into it knowing that after 2 weeks, your intent is to propose to someone, and then after 4 weeks
Right.
to marry them. So you've already broken down those norms. Like it's not going to take a year or 2 years of getting to know the person. It's a drastic choice for sure. I would. It's a very drastic choice.
I feel like Adi and Clay, they had a lot of chemistry. They continue to have a lot of chemistry throughout the entire process. So jumping forward all the way to like the meetups, like where the couples are now meeting one another. What's your like take on that whole scene?
So it's an awkward situation, right? You're with this person who you're still getting to know, and you're meeting up with people whether you were interested in them or not, you did do a little dating. Everybody kind of little dated everybody else. Um, so it's cool in one sense. You get to see the people you've been with, the males and the females get to see the people they've been hanging out with and hear all the excitement and stuff. But after that, kind of developing the group dynamics is weird.
Right.
Um, it seemed kind of fragmented, and there was a lot of performing going on.
I like the way that when Johnny saw like all the other women, he was like, "You're still the best." Like to Amy, like he whispered that to her. I was like, "Look at
Yeah,
her."
yeah. So I think him, and in the beginning, I really felt like Kenneth was, they called out him being attentive or whatever, which at first I was like, yeah, he's really like feeling her, he's paying attention to her. But I also like as things went on, I kind of felt like maybe he's masking. Um, so he had the conversation with AD, where
He had a
you
lot
know,
of conversations with the mans.
yeah, she did.
Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
I think he revealed some things that were bothering him that he hadn't really surfaced to the camera before, um, and they're legitimate concerns that probably would have been healthier to get out and discuss with her openly, instead of kind of harboring them and pretending like everything's good and you have full faith in their ability to deal with the situation naturally. So I
Right.
was a bit disappointed in him for that.
But I think too, it's so new to him because he's never done it before. I don't know
Mhm.
if he put that much thought into it. You know, and
Yeah,
one of my comments from the last review, it was in reference to the emphasis on interracial relationships. Like if, the interracial issues or if race issues inform other people on who you are, you have to make sure that you communicate those things to the person that you're going to be with that's not within that race because those things won't come up for them. They don't
yep,
know it, they don't understand it, they don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? They don't live it. And 80 asked him a good question, like, you guys have kids that will have Black children. How is she gonna deal with that? And
mhm,
honestly, I feel like Brittany would be able to respond to having Black kids. She doesn't come off as a type that wouldn't be able to manage things. She seemed very flexible and very open. She seemed to have like walked into the situation eyes wide open. And she may have dated Black before. I don't recall if she'd mentioned that she had before or not. But Kenneth absolutely mentioned that he'd never done it before. So this was like
yeah,
new territory for him. And he's so young. I don't know if he's had any kind of experience with it at all. And I mean, he said no. So to me, like, even if you date someone, of a different race, marrying someone of a different race, and then having biracial kids, it's a whole other thing. And I don't think he did it. And I think it hit him like a ton of bricks, especially
yeah,
when he saw Aid and Clay. And he was like,
yep,
oh, Black love. And she was like, yeah, Black love, or
yeah.
whatever. It was like, I think for him, it was like, oh, shoot,
I don't
I
got
don't
that.
have Black love. You know what I'm saying? Like a ton of bricks just came and smacked him in the face. And he was just like, oh man, I didn't even process this all the way, how I could really be impacted, or how Brittany too would be impacted by the decisions that they're making. And
Yeah,
I hope it don't take away from the love that they've developed. Because I feel like outside of the racial issues that they may not have fully discussed, I feel like they discussed a lot of different things in the relationship, lifestyle, and all these different things. And it seemed to be a really good fit. And I think physically, I think he's attracted to her. But I think in seeing AD, first of all, everybody saw AD and
yeah,
wanted AD. And I said in one of my episodes that AD has that kind of spirit where she like pulls people in and she draws them to open up. And I
mm,
think I would not be surprised if a lot of the men came out and said 80 was someone I had considered, like, talking to or being with or dating or whatever. I would not be shocked.
yeah,
When Jimmy was talking to AD, child. And then here go Miss Lack of Confidence, Megan Fox, aka Chelsea, whatever we calling her tonight. She was on edge. They were having a conversation right there. And Jimmy could have cared less that she was sitting right there, like
yeah.
behind. I feel like he was facing her back. So, like, he was facing AD, but AD's back was to Chelsea.
Mhm.
So he could have seen Chelsea. And then later on in the night, he was talking about, you weren't even close to us. He was so
Right.
engrossed in our conversation with AD, he didn't even notice that his fiance was right there behind her. Like, what?
Yeah. And it was a long conversation, which was weird to me, right? Because so why in that situation would you tell Chelsea that 80 is stacked? Like you should be aware that matter of fact, it doesn't even matter. Even if you don't think she has body issues, right? Even if you really like her body, you can't just be like, yo, that girl right there is built. You haven't built that level of intimacy, right? You
Right.
laid the foundation where she has the faith in you to understand the context, to understand what that means. And her reaction, while it made the whole thing spiral, was like she freaked out.
Yeah.
She freaked out, and so she called it out, kind of to chastise him. But it's just weird because then she made AD uncomfortable, and I feel like AD had to either decide to check him for her or kind of play it down. So it kind of removed AD's agency in the whole situation, the way that she brought
Right.
it to her. And I don't think they revisited that. And we'll talk about the other situation with AD, but they didn't revisit that. But at first, I feel like AD was like, what is happening? And then when she kind of saw how Chelsea was reacting, she kind of tried to play it down and not make a big deal out of it, which I respect her for. I do think she should have cut that conversation short. She was just living in it. Like,
I feel like, so a part of me was wondering, like, where was Clay? Like, what was he doing? But I also feel like he liked the fact that all the men thought that AD was attractive. And
yeah,
he's so confident. He's the kind of dude that's just like, yeah, my girl is in the room. I could go ahead and go do this. And it's not a big deal. And I
yeah,
felt like in that situation, he should have read the room and come and be next to AD, which I think would have then like invited Chelsea to approach
into
the
the
situation and then
conversation.
become a part of the conversation. But Clay was so busy doing whatever he was doing, and he didn't focus. I think he was talking to the guys or whatever,
Yeah,
catching up with them. And AD was just kind of like, no
yeah,
fault you. I'm just gonna stand here and be cute. And she was trying to just stay poised and quiet. And I mean, I think a lot of women end up in situations like that. And I feel like when you do, it's okay to say something along the lines of like, oh, but look at your wife, look at your wife.
right,
She's fine. You turn the attention immediately on the next person, and then you find a way to chuck the deuces. Let me go see what my husband needs, or let me go see what my fiance need, or whatever it is. Like, because the moment, to me, you're right in the length of time that she stood there, because I think Chelsea had time to stand there, order a drink, get her
yeah,
drink, and what's her name? Amy came,
and
ordered a
yeah,
drink, got her drink. They both went and sat down, and AD and Jimmy was still there, kiki kakaing, having
yeah,
conversation. And I know AD felt uncomfortable, but I think this is one of the skills that she didn't utilize. And I've said kind of throughout that I feel like she has all these skills, and she did not put a boundary there. And I think as women, especially when you know that you're attractive, that there are some boundaries you need to set up so that when you get into those conversations or interactions, you don't make all kind of people feel uneasy. You know what I
right,
mean? Because now you got Brittany's husband who's kind of jealous of Clay and AD. Not AD directly, but Clay and AD because they're like this black couple. And then you have the bean dip situation. Come on, Jeremy. Talking some things you talk about with your partner is not for the streets. Don't
right,
tell your partner's business. Like, I know Laura was like, why would you tell? And so, and now Eddie is in the middle of that situation because she was like, yeah, but you guys should have just not even brought it up. Like, you shouldn't even said
right,
it. What else would AD say? And then Laura was like, well, why is Clay getting an attitude? And AD, of course, is now defending Clay. Even Clay, to me, didn't have that much of a response. But
right.
who knows what was cut off and, like what we missed in the entire interaction. Clay seemed cool. He was just sitting there. He didn't even get up. He didn't really
Yeah,
seem to acknowledge it that much. But the girls and the kind of back and forth that they had about it, it just, Amy was in the center of a lot of conflict. And not because she put herself in it, but because people put her in there. But she had to learn how to uninvite herself.
it sucks. because I feel like that particular situation happened because she came over to them and was hanging out, and I feel like he just kind of got flustered. You just got to look away. Like, it's a life skill as a man you got to have. You just got to look away. I do respect Clay for being chill in the situation, which I do think is part of his personality.
Yeah.
But also I think he's aware of kind of childish ways he can. It feels like Clay is not there. He knows he's not there and is trying to find his way to be there for her, right? He kind of steps up in a little way. I don't think he was really offended. Also, it also kind of felt like they were talking about it and it was kind of like uncomfortable. And when she came over, Jeremy kind of like, to avoid putting it on AD, put it on Clay. He was like, "Yeah, you offended me." But like you said, I don't think he was. I mean, you didn't do anything to her. I think he was cool. But he was just stepping up so as not to cause friction between the two of them, Brittany and
Right.
Amy.
Yeah. At the end of the night, Chelsea goes to the room and she's feeling like emotionally left out. And she's like whining. Did you hear the voice she was using?
Oh
I
my
don't know
gosh.
why you know. I
Yeah,
legitimately thought I was talking to my daughter, like my 4-year-old daughter. And
yeah. I don't.
I feel like he kind of like was patient with her. Cause I don't know if I would have had the patience to entertain a conversation. I'd be like, girl, I propose to you. I love you. I don't love AD. I don't even know why you would even think that. I was just
Right.
trying to be open and honest with you. If that's not something that you're ready for, or if it's something like issue, I'll be more cognizant of it. And he did apologize. He did apologize. So, and she just kept going with the whole whiny voice. I, I don't know. It was it was giving that she didn't have a lot of confidence.
Hmm.
And I think when she put the way that she portrayed herself in the pods, it was as though she had a lot of confidence. Even though I felt like she cried a lot, she made it seem like she was confident, but she was just connected to her emotions. And I think
Hmm.
now outside of the pods is like she's not confident and she's overly sensitive and
Yeah.
emotional, which is a
Yeah.
turn.
I agree. I think that whole whiny, like her being upset on the beach, all of that, her reactions were fine. They made sense. I mean, she could have reeled it in, but it was fine. But then she like just melted into this 3-year-old, and I don't understand why that happened.
I don't understand what happened. And I feel like Trevor would have been able to better handle her character, the way that she shows up.
Right.
So,
Definitely. I think Trevor would have been better able to handle it.
mhm,
It- Jimmy is not, he can't communicate his emotions well.
mhm.
And I think he thinks that being fully transparent is communicating his emotions well.
Right.
Maybe not the time. Because what she really wanted was to be heard.
Mhm.
She wanted to be heard because I think what she was trying to get across was like, it's not that I don't trust you. I just don't understand why you couldn't pick up that I was uncomfortable with the situation.
Mhm.
And he was like, yeah, but I didn't do anything. And it's like, that's not the issue, my guy. You need to listen to her. And I think he eventually got there. But in his defense, and I don't like defending him because I don't like him, but in his defense, she made it pretty hard to listen to her. Like,
She did. So out of the couples that are there, so we have Jimmy and Chelsea, Jeremy and Laura, Kenneth and Brittany, Clay and AD, Johnny and Amy. Who you feel, you know, kind of like at the end of episode 6 is still going relatively strong.
so I think, of course, Clay and AD are straight.
So not
Of
even
course,
Johnny and Amy, you wouldn't say that might have, they might
Johnny, no, Johnny and Amy are good. Yeah, Johnny and Amy are good. Because Johnny is smitten. They're probably going to be the first to have sex.
and I
Um,
think Laura and Jeremy had sex too.
yeah, they also were very close to. Oh, we didn't talk about that. I don't. He started to nope out of the relationship. Like,
Oh, he left at the end of the night. He left. He left
yeah, he was like, I'm ready to go
after the
home.
bean dip debacle.
Yeah,
Bean
which
dip gate.
I don't. That was wild to me. I don't understand because I don't understand like why that affects their relationship. I don't
I
know.
think for him, it was another thing that Laura was trying to change about him. And so
Maybe.
that kind of like bleeds into
Yeah.
like the therapist feedback. I feel like that is like, it's all these things that she's trying to change about him. And after some point, he's no longer who he is. He is just
Right.
who Laura wants him to be. And no one wants to be in a relationship where the other person is constantly trying to change things about you. You want to be able to keep your autonomy in a relationship. She's not really allowing that. I don't think she means that. And I think he was also embarrassed because I don't think that
Yeah.
he really meant to make a big deal. I think he really legitimately thought that he was like making a joke. And I think that some of the things that he does is putting on for Clay because Clay is
Hmm.
like the
Yes.
is the it dude, right? I think he was doing it to kind of be in things, but it didn't go well. It went south. And then it also seemed like it was in the family of betrayal, I think, for Laura. And the way that she conveyed her like frustration by the fact that her annoyance by the fact that he would even communicate that and bring it outside of the relationship really pissed her off. Any final thoughts about anything before we wrap up this review?
Yeah. I think my final thought, my final thoughts really boil down to the idea that I think the premise that the show is testing, right, is that is an emotional connection enough to carry a relationship, despite the physical aspects of it. And mind you, I haven't seen the other season, so this is my first experience with the show. And I think what it shows is mostly that it's a faulty experiment. Um, because a lot of the problems, except for Jimmy and Chelsea, are not really related to the appearance of the person. I mean, there's a little bit of that carry through all of it, but it is to say that the pod dating experience was not long enough and didn't allow for deep enough interactions. It didn't allow for conflict. And so putting them on this accelerated rate kind of timeline for marriage is forcing conflicts and worries to bubble up sooner, which is great television, right? But
Right.
it highlights that just because you like the person's personality, they may make a good friend, but that doesn't mean that they're the person you need to be with. Or even if they are the person you need to be with, it's not as simple as the emotional connection carrying you. There's still work that needs to be done.
Yeah, the social experiment, so to speak, is a bit faulty because if the individuals had maybe like a dating coach alongside them or a therapist or something alongside them, that would help the relationships go deep. And I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities for conversations that these couples could have that would have gotten rid of a host of the issues. Like Kenneth and Brittany, like I feel like they did everything except for have a conversation about race, which to me was
Right.
huge. And I feel like, to be honest, like while I feel like Clay and AD for the moment are okay, I feel like
Right.
AD is ready. And I think that they could make a good fit. In the back of my mind, I'm wondering if he really is attracted to her. She has a nice body, but I don't know if he's attracted to her face.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people have different ideas of, of what they're attracted to. So we'll see. I can see Clay and Amy being together. I could see Jimmy and Jessica getting together or trying to figure out something at some point, if not in
Sure.
the show, maybe after. It may not go well because of the child situation and or
Right.
because of the fact that he chose Chelsea first. It could impair or impact their relationship, which is
Yeah.
nobody's gonna work at the end.
Nobody's gonna work.
But I mean, you never know. We'll see how things kind of unfold. I'll watch the rest, and maybe you can join me again with reviewing these episodes.
Yeah, I will say the first two episodes were a bit hard to get through, but the show has kind of grown on me a little bit. Still not my thing, but I see there's interesting dynamics going on. So I'll keep watching.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Court, and I'm Lene. We're signing off. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any feedback, drop it below in the comment section or any questions, drop it below, and we'll be happy to assist you. Thanks. Bye.